We are live
We are live, it seems.
and alive. Live and alive.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we are live.
We got some good news. Great. So people can see it on YouTube
yes,
now?
so now we're connected.
Okay. To the
Yes.
world.
So welcome to everyone. My name is Inbar Preiss. I'm a regulatory correspondent for DL News. And this is the second episode of Tech Talks organized by ValidVent. Let me just wait one moment to see if we have some people joining.
It's late, huh? It's 6:15 already. So I guess
Late night show.
it's really the late night show here in Brussels. With Jorge. Rodrigues.
Well, I think we can get started. We'll record it just in case. So today we're talking about Europe's big blockchain plans. Over the past 5 years, the European Commission has been supporting a project known as the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, or EBSI as we're going to call it as well during this conversation. And the goal is to have public services and administrative tools all connected on a common blockchain across the European Union. And this should make cross-border things like identity or certifications easier to handle in this kind of 27 state block. And what's also interesting to me is that there's already talk of collaboration with other jurisdictions that are working on similar blockchain plans. For example, the EBSI is designed to also be interoperable with blockchains in Latin America or in Canada, and that's something that we'll get into a bit later on. And it's also going to be interesting for us to discuss a little bit about what this kind of project means in the world of AI as that becomes more and more prominent. And a last thing that is interesting for me right now is I think this is a very timely conversation because we are actually looking at a moment where 10 member states have agreed to take on this blockchain project and turn it into a political body, a consortium that will ensure the rollout of this blockchain infrastructure. So it's great to have our guests today, Joao Rodrigues Frade and Manuel Panizo Plaza. Both are working in the European Commission's arm for digital services. And you guys are also coordinating this kind of wheelhouse of projects surrounding EBSI. So it would be great to hear from you if a little bit more about your roles in the European Commission and your involvement in EBSI, first of all.
So good afternoon, everyone that is joining online. So my name is Joao Rodrigues Frade, and I am a head of sector in the European Commission. So we work for the Director General of Informatics, also known as DIGIT. And as part of DIGIT, we actually do the technical work around the EBSI. So we are builders, we are not doing policy as such. I am the head of sector, meaning that we also do other things, not only EBSI. If you look online, you will find the once only principal technical system that's also done by our sector. We are responsible for several building blocks, including e-delivery and many others that are also online. And that's really our objective, is to promote technologies that can be understood as a building block that can be reusable in different sectors, in different policy areas. And our main objective, goal, and role is to help the different DGs of the Commission, because in case you don't know, they are also organized by policy area, to help them deploy their policy across Europe together with the member states. And sometimes this also involves the private sector. So we have many collaborations ongoing at the same time. Some of them involve in EBSI, some of them don't, but fundamentally we try to reuse knowledge from one technology to another, but we are not blockchain maximalists. So we use many other technologies in addition to blockchain. And when we look at EBSI, it's important to emphasize that EBSI is not only about blockchain. EBSI is about Web3 technologies, one of them being blockchain, but what we do, and we do a lot, is to use verifiable credentials and digital wallets to make information very easy to verify and almost impossible to fake. Because sometimes people look at EBSI, right, and they believe it's full-on blockchain project, and then they get surprised that we are actually using blockchain in a very specific way, and we use it together with other technologies that are not necessarily even Web3. But our focus has been for many years this idea of making information very easy to verify. So, and I'm here, of course, with Jose Manuel, and he's the technical leader of EBSI. Jose Manuel.
Thanks a lot for joining us and good afternoon to everyone. I'm Jose Manuel Panizo Plaza, working also in the European Commission. I'm working as the technical coordinator of EBSI. I'm managing a team, the technical team is divided in 7 teams, a wonderful technical team that is helping us to deploy EBSI and also to support more than 25 different applications, different projects that are using the EBSI services. I'm also working in direct cooperation with the governance of the project, which is provided by the governance of the project is governed by member state and also DG Connect, the policy business owner of the Commission. And I'm also promoting EBSI, and not only EBSI, this decentralization paradigm that is behind EBSI and the concepts of an easy verification.
Brilliant. So that's a great introduction. And my first question for you guys is very basic. What's the point of EBSI? What problems is it solving? And I guess since it's been in the works for the past 5 years, have those problems become, different or evolved? Has the solution that EBSI is proposing evolved in that time?
Yeah, I mean, as we try to explain already, and we invite everyone to go online and see it with their own 2 eyes, but the problem we are trying to solve is the problem of verification. So that's the fundamental problem. When we started the EBSI, of course, in 2018, there were many candidate use cases. People were very excited about blockchain. They were going to use blockchain for everything and anything. But as we matured, the different ideas that were being put forward, we concluded that the problem that blockchain could help us solve was the problem of verification. And it's not blockchain alone, it's blockchain alongside verifiable credentials and also alongside digital wallets, as we explained. And the problem is very simple, right? When you have, in our case, cross-border interactions with citizens and businesses, they many times involve authentic documents. So you want to prove that you have a diploma in a certain field, and you want to show it in another member state. And let's say whoever receives that diploma should be able to easily verify whether or not your diploma is authentic. So that's really the idea behind the use cases, is that we are mainly focusing on cross-border, can also be within a single member state, but verification should be very easy. So it means that when they receive the diploma, they should not need to go online and start Googling whether or not that university exists, whether or not they actually can issue this type of diploma that you're showing to them, whether or not the diploma has been revoked or expired. The verification process should be simple. We started this in 2019, having in mind, of course, that if we would be able to do it for a diploma, we would be able to do it for many other authentic documents, or virtually any authentic document that proves something or is used as evidence about you or about something that you owe. and that is typically requested when you go abroad and you want to work, you want to study. The use cases can be multiple. Okay, great. So that's the problem that we started to work on, and we are still working on the verification of documents, verification of legal entities, and also verification of products. The role of blockchain is very simple. Blockchain is our trusted list of issuers of documents, and it contains information about public keys so that the verifier can receive the authentic document, for example, the diploma, and then retrieve information from the blockchain, from EBSI, about the issuer of that document and alongside the public keys of that issuer.
Yes, if I may add, you made a very good question, because when we are talking about concept like decentralization or empowerment of citizens, this concept sounds very vague, and it's important to mention and highlight which are the added values for citizens and also for companies. We have some examples in the Commission that some regulations that they have understood the added value of these concepts and also these technologies. For example, we have in the digital product passport that they are promoting an storage that is not centralized, it is decentralized, just because having a centralized data storage of information that can be confidential is a high risk and has a lot of responsibility. We have also our colleagues from the EIDAS regulation that they have included in the proposal to amend the regulation the use of digital wallets for companies and also for citizens. So they saw the added value of citizen controlling this information. And so coming back to EBSI, as Joao mentioned, we have which is the concrete added value of EBSI in the concept of an easy verification of information. Verification of information of legal entities, for example. There's a report from the Commission saying that close to the 50% of the ESG claims, green claims, they are fake. Regarding verification of information of citizens, recently we met a very big organization, the of this organization, and they told us that they have a book of 300 pages with example of diplomas to see how a diploma look like, and a list of phones and mails to call instead of if they have a doubt. So this is a real problem. And also verification of products. There is a report from the customs authorities saying that the cost of counterfeit products is close to 2 billion euro. So it's a real problem for citizens and also for companies.
And I think this problem of verification that that you explained very well, it's even more relevant when AI and artificial intelligence is becoming more and more prominent in our digital lives and in affecting so many different aspects of our lives. It's so much easier to fake documents, to fake identities. So do you feel like this rise in AI over the past year or so has been an extra push for EBSI to do its role in Europe?
Well, I still don't know exactly where we will be going, right? That's my feeling. But definitely, what we are trying to explain is that if on one hand you have this powerful tool to generate information, which is AI, right? That you can generate any document in a few seconds and images, you should have as well another powerful tool to verify information. It's only logical, I would say. I mean, one and the other, right? They provide us with the technologies that we need to continue to have trust in the digital world as we have in the real world. Now, of course, sometimes this is, let's say, not framed in the right way because people don't associate blockchain as supporting verification. So when we talk about blockchain as supporting verification, the dots are not connected. Whereas people, of course, they see AI as all powerful and capable of generating any type of content, easily and so on. So people understand very quickly, right, all the potential use cases of AI, whereas people associate blockchain to cryptocurrency. And that is somewhat a problem, because when we look at what AI poses as a threat many times, right? As we were discussing the other day, the two of us, there are tools already that are able to fake authentic documents, and these authentic documents are being used, right, in remote verification processes, not in person, but remote camera, and they are extremely realistic and very cheap, because they are done in a very easy, cheap way using AI. So if we don't develop tools that help us to verify these documents, soon enough, what we'll have is either two things: more administrative burden. So we have to have longer checks, longer KYCs, or we have more fraud and more counterfeiting and all these type of associated problems. Now, how can we help, right? That's the question. It's not only blockchain, again, it's blockchain with verifiable credentials and digital wallet. So that's always our kind of recipe. And actually, blockchain is the one that is the optional one. So our idea is you have a diploma, today is a PDF, you should be able to turn it into a verifiable credential, put it in a digital wallet, and then share it with a verifier no matter where. Because it's a verifiable credential, that document becomes very easy to verify, which means that the role of blockchain, again, and I want to emphasize this again and again, is only to make available, right, online information about the issuer or of the verifiable credential. Because the verifiable credential is signed by the issuer. If you are able to get the information about the issuer and the public key from that issuer, you are able to verify that document. Secondly, the verifiable credential is signed by the citizen, or by you and me, by our wallet. So whoever verifies that document knows that the document was actually issued to you and to your wallet, and knows that you're not just, forwarding that document to someone else that is impersonating you. So it's a much more reliable verification process. The blockchain is nice because, of course, if you have a mega centralized database of issuers, you might have all sorts of challenges to keep that database online. And as José Manuel said, it's a single point of failure. Whereas if you use blockchain, right, you have a much more resilient and robust way of putting that information online. What EBSI does as well is that you cannot just write anything on EBSI because it's a public permission blockchain. So it means that we only allow trusted entities to create information that is then available for everyone to read from EBSI. So the information that is on EBSI can be trusted. There is a process on top. And once it's in there, it's available for anyone and everyone to benefit from, to read from. And that's really the role of this blockchain, is to support these verification processes associated to authentic documents, associated to legal entities, associated to products, which I believe it's quite handy in the world of AI. What do you think, José Manuel?
Indeed, no, completely agree. Yes, as Joao mentioned, we are using blockchain to store information that enable us trust, no? And trust sometimes can be a complex thing. For example, I can trust in a diploma because I trust in the university, because I trust in the Ministry of Education. But also, if you sign a document, I trust in you, and maybe this is enough. Or your company, DL News, they are signing a work attestation. I can trust in the work attestation, and maybe I will ask for an additional attestation from the business registry to your company. So trust can be complex. And in EBSI, we are using blockchain to store these complex things, which is the trust information, verifiable about a bit about the users.
Not the documents themselves. The documents are only on the wallets. It's important, guys. Documents on the wallets, information about the issuers on the blockchain, and that's it.
Right, so there's a whole, ecosystem of use cases here. We were covering verification of documents, of credentials, linked to digital wallets, which are linked to digital identities, and there's anti-counterfeiting of products involved in this. Is there anything that I've missed? Is there other use cases maybe that are worth mentioning or diving deeper into?
I think the ones that you mentioned are like already very very powerful use cases, because if we look at, for example, counterfeiting, what Jose Manuel was saying is the ease of counterfeiting, right, is quite scary. And if you look at the numbers of our colleagues of UIPO, which is the Patent Office of Europe, right, they made this estimation. We just posted today a story about their project, which is called EBSI ELSA. And the numbers are really scary. I mean, like the number of estimated counterfeiting in the internal market. I was like, really? I mean, I was not aware, right? So if you are able to make information about those products very easy to verify, right? It's a very powerful tool to ensure that the product that you're buying is an authentic product and not a counterfeit or a fake product, right? And that affects everyday lives. And I think that's exactly the objective of EBSI, is to put the blockchain to work for things that are completely different from cryptocurrency, and the fact that Bitcoin is going, very high or going very low, and independently of all that, that blockchain still has a role to play in society. I think that's really our message. And you don't need more examples than I think these ones, right? I mean, it's not like because we have 100 that makes blockchain more relevant or irrelevant. I think these are, if we're able to scale them, we make Europe a better place. That's it. And we use it with this technology, which works. Fantastic. And this is what we have been demonstrating over and over again. This is why we created an experience center as well in Brussels, where people can come and they actually go through the journey of a posted worker, because there are some formalities that you have to take care of before being a posted worker, meaning you go work abroad for like a period of 6 months, and you have the benefits of, let's say, being abroad, but at the same time the coverage of Social Security and other things from your original member state. So you need a document called PDA-1 that proves that you took care of all those formalities before you went abroad, right? And once you are abroad, you might get to be controlled. Now, with our solution, that control is very easy. The verifier comes, typically the labor inspector comes, scans a QR code and knows immediately that the document was issued from a trusted social security organization in Europe, knows it was issued to you because it comes from the same wallet that received that document, knows the document was not expired, knows that the document is indeed a PDA A1, and in case it gets expired, knows immediately that expired or revoked, knows immediately that the document is actually authentic, but unfortunately was revoked or expired. And that is a big change, right? Because otherwise, what does the inspector need to do is to call colleague from the other member state, ask him about whether or not the document is still valid, give information about you to your home member state, meaning your personal data, typically, so that they can find you, of course. Everything becomes much easier, right? And if you want to see it, just, register yourself, visit the Experience Center. We're more than happy to show you. And
I've been there as well, so that was fun, yeah, that you were able to guide me through this Experience Center in the Commission. So for anyone who's in Brussels who can actually, who's interested in EBSI, there's a place for you to go. But my question now is also, who is actually developing all of these protocols and projects surrounding EBSI? Who's the people behind it?
Okay, so talking about the projects, not talking about EBSI itself, we are working with projects that are coming through 3 different sources. One of them, they are granted by the Commission, co-granted. So the Commission is providing the 50% of the budget, and the other 50% is coming from different organizations. We are working there with universities, public bodies, private organizations, IT providers. There are other projects that are coming through the Early Adopters Program, which is an incubator program. These organizations are supporting EBSI with their own funds. With them, we have organized them in 7 different clusters. We are matchmaking different organizations that they want to pilot EBSI in different cross-border transactions. There we are working, for example, with projects of transcript of records, student ID, work attestations. You can check our website to see all the projects that are working with us. And also, as we mentioned before, we are working with other projects that are coming from the European Commission. We mentioned SPAS for the issuance of the PDA1. We are working with EDC, the European Digital Credentials, to pilot how EBSI can support the European learning model. And as we mentioned before, we are working with UIPO, the European Union Intellectual Property Office, in this project EBSI-ELSA.
So it's a lot of people, and as we try to always say, right, EBSI is more a convener of efforts, and also a way to explain Web3 as a decentralized way of creating solutions that in the past would most likely imply the centralization of information and the system administrator and the full control by one single organization. And you can really contrast the two. I mean, we find, many people that today really believe in Web3, wanting to know more about EBSI, and then they go along and they might create, something similar in some other ecosystem, because there are other ecosystems out there that we collaborate with and are also following, that are trying to solve the same problems as we are. So we are just one example. And in my opinion, these challenges will become more and more interesting for different, blockchains to also focus on, because the problem of reputation is everywhere, right? It's not only identities, this idea of reputation, right? What is the reputation of this wallet that is receiving, they go along. Unfortunately, sometimes this is not well understood or not well explained, that on one hand, it's indeed very useful to have eventually, many different cryptocurrencies or different tokens, but at the same time, you need, independently of the anonymity of the wallet, right, to have some idea of the reputation of who is actually behind that wallet. And you don't need necessarily identity, but you need some reputation. And that can be achieved with the same type of technologies that we are discussing, like verifiable credentials. Because if you get a verifiable credential issued by a trusted entity, asserting that this is a trusted wallet, right? If you trust that entity, you trust the wallet. You transfer the trust from the entity that made that assertion to the wallet without disclosing the individual behind it. So we believe that a lot of what we are doing completely within, let's say, public services scope can then be reused for many other areas, including the area of DeFi, decentralized finance, which is the area where people typically work on blockchain. But we have seen that there are more and more synergies between what we are doing and what DeFi is doing, including this idea of reputation and other ideas that we are currently promoting.
You mentioned earlier, the crypto markets. Is that something that you have to explain to, maybe other colleagues who are less familiar with blockchain, or they hear the word blockchain and they say, "Oh, are you guys issuing crypto assets?" Or is that a distinction that you need to make often with people who are curious about your jobs?
Absolutely. I mean, that has been something that we will never be able to solve. It's this unsolvable problem because as soon as you say blockchain, people associate with Bitcoin, and they believe that we are mining something and destroying the environment. And actually, what we have built, in this case EBSI, is a blockchain that is based on proof of authority, because we only have nodes that are trusted from the member states, run by the member states, for the member states. So we don't have any mining whatsoever. It's a network that really is built with the member states, only entities trusted by the member states. So we use proof of authority first and foremost. And secondly, as we were saying, the notion of token, right, is a very broad notion. So tokenization, that is eventually today another way of saying how to use, cryptography and crypto technologies, goes much beyond the creation of cryptocurrency, right? So we believe that verifiable credentials, independently or not of being understood as tokens, they're actually tokens about us. It's the same idea of soul-bound tokens, but without being on-chain. So they are off-chain tokens about us or about things that we own. We try to say we have nothing to do with decentralized finance. Our use cases don't touch upon decentralized finance. Nonetheless, decentralized finance can benefit a lot from what we are doing because tokenization goes beyond this idea of saying, well, NFT or cryptocurrency. It also includes this idea of reputation of the wallets that are involved in these exchanges in a decentralized finance service. So again, it's a process, and we hope to slowly but surely get to a common understanding about how can we all support each other.
And maybe this is a good moment to clarify the state or the stage and the phase in which EBSI is in, because it's not actually live yet. We're still in prototype phase. So all of these projects we're talking about are being prototyped and still developed. And you spoke earlier also about scaling the project. And that links to the next phase of EBSI as it also becomes kind of adopted by a bigger political consortium. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, first of all, scaling the project and what is the timeline looking like right now?
So I will start and then I will pass here to Jose Manuel, that is actually the one responsible for all the efforts that we are doing to build a resilient blockchain. The first thing is that EBSI is indeed not tagged as live, fully operational, let's put it this way. We prefer to call it like in pilot mode, but it's really in the sense of its functionality and in the sense of its security, it's production grade. So we have invested really a lot in the sense of ensuring that the EBSI nodes are safe and secure, and that they are scalable. So it's production grade, but for reasons, of course, which are obvious, right? Because you're still in I would say, initial stage of these technologies, and you are doing things which are a bit, outside of the normal, that we are careful, and therefore we say it's pilot. That's it. But the network itself, it's really production grade at, like, I would say, all levels, right? Jose Manuel?
Indeed, in levels of performance, security, resilience, is production grade. Yes, let's talking about going into production and about scaling. I think that we should talk now about the Digital Decade Program, which is a program of the European Commission that is planning to achieve by 2030 a set of targets. One of these targets, for example, is the fully digitalization of the public services for citizens and for companies. And the Commission selected a set of technologies that they will be enablers to reach these targets. And blockchain was one of these technologies. For that, the vision of the Commission is the creation of multi-country projects. So they are projects completely formed by member states, supported by the Commission, but the funding, the budget is coming from member state, that they will be like the catalyzer to achieve these concrete targets. And for that, the European Commission promoted the role of the EDICs, which are European Digital Infrastructure Consortium. And there was a survey in the member states, and EBSI was selected one of the top 3 projects that will lead to the creation of an EDIC to take over the project and to support in production EBSI. This edict was called as European, and this is what you commented at the beginning, that they have received the political support of 9 member states.
Right. So this is kind of a transformational moment. I know that the Belgian presidency of the Council of the European Union has been a bit more vocal about this, political project of EBSI, even calling it European. So like European Ethereum, as the State Secretary Mathieu Michel likes to call it. So I think this is a really interesting moment. You mentioned 9 member states, I think among them, of course, Belgium, which has decided to kind of take a lead on this political project. And there's Slovenia, Croatia, Poland, if I remember correctly. I think Greece was the latest to join. Would you be able to share a little bit more about what the contributions of each member state would be to this EDIC or European Digital Infrastructure Consortium financially? And in terms of, I guess, also if there's other resources that each member state would need to provide for this?
Yes. So we are not closely following the discussion with the EDIC, but indeed one of the requirements is to provide a budget to participate in this consortium. Also, they have to provide at least one node in this network in production, following the SLAs that we are demanding for the production network. And implicitly, there is also a political support to the project. Okay, not only participating in the consortium, also promoting the adoption of EBSI.
So does this mean that before EBSI goes across the entire EU, it will first be in these member states that are part of the EDIC?
No, I mean, when we discussed the fact that EBSI is public permission, it means that even though the nodes, which Jose Manuel will tell you, are beyond these 9 member states, they're a bit everywhere, but they are on the web, so it means that they're reachable by anyone, everywhere, even beyond Europe. So as soon as the information is on EBSI, of course, everyone can read from EBSI using simple APIs, because actually the nodes, they're all similar and they provide the same set of APIs to extract information from EBSI, meaning you say, okay, give me information about this entity, right? The issuer of any document, a diploma, let's say. Typically, you use a decentralized identifier. So you just ask EBSI, give me information about this decentralized identifier. You provide that as the key, and EBSI will return to you the information, the latest information. Again, immutable, you cannot change it once you can update it, you cannot change it, and you receive that information to verify, for example, the fact that the diploma that you received is, authentic diploma or not. So we want to be, let's say, reassuring everyone, of course, that even though EDIC is a subset of the member states, EBSI is available in all member states and even beyond. Because as we discussed, we are also in contact with other regions of the world or other parts of the world, jurisdictions of the world, that are exactly doing the same as us and having exactly the same objectives as us. So that's also something that we do and we continue to do. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I was interested to talk about next. Would you be able to share a little bit more about which countries you're speaking with in terms of interoperability of these blockchain infrastructures?
Yeah, it's interesting. Before I give the floor to Jose Manuel, I'd like to give the floor because he's just next to me. But the interoperability we try to achieve is a bit at higher level, not at blockchain level. So our interoperability is more at the level of the digital wallet and of the verifiable credential. We're not so much trying to breach the blockchain level. So we don't have side chains or rollouts or things like that, because that doesn't really matter that much. But what we want is, if we receive a diploma coming from, I don't know, a Canadian university, that it can be, understood and validated in Europe, and the other way around. So interoperability contains all these levels, right? Legal level, organizational, and then technical. So it's more in that sense. But Jose Manuel is the one like pushing this forward. tell us more.
Yes, no, indeed. As Joao mentioned, what we call the EBSI image is divided in different layers. We are not exposing the smart contract. We are directly exposing APIs to interact with the smart contract. We are using APIs that are following an authorization API, which is based in OpenID Connect for VC and OAuth. So in that sense, we are using the protocols that are using in the most noise? Okay. That are used commonly based on OpenID Connect and based on OAuth. And talking about international cooperation, we have from time to time contact with networks and also with projects. So talking about networks, we're having recurrent meetings with LagChain. I always forget. LagChain is the LagNet is the company, let's say, the consortium, and LagChain is the network. They are doing a very similar initiative that we have.
And this is in Latin America, just for those who don't know.
That's it. The difference is that they have an incentivization program for the node operators, and we consider that node operators are providing a public service, so we don't have this incentivization program, but they are also using Hyperledger Besu. We are also talking from time to time with the Sovereign Foundation, which they are providing the Sovereign network supported by Hyperledger Indy. And also we are in close contact with national initiatives like FindiNet, ID Union, Alastria, that they have national networks in Finland,
But that's
Germany.
in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe.
And yes, and I was also curious if there's
Canada, for Canada and the US as well, in terms of international cooperation.
Indeed, also we are meeting from time to time with Anil John, that he's working in the Department of Homeland Security. He's working in the Silicon Valley Innovation Program, and they are following a very similar approach for use cases in the United States, using DIDs and verifiable credential. Also, we are in contact with, for example, Nancy Morris, that she's working in a project of the government of British Columbia to use in Canada, to use innovative technologies like DIDs, verifiable credentials, and BLTs to explore how to support the regulation for companies that are mining steel. And they understood very well the added value of these technologies because they are promoting an accreditation program for companies that they want to sell. They want to sell their business. So they saw that this technology is a very good way to achieve the requirements that are required in USA and also in Europe regarding transparency, regarding verification of information. Yes, and we have recently, I see that she's frozen. I think that we are connected now.
Yeah, we should continue.
Okay, so we have recently finished an interoperability program with Canada. We have finished the phase 1 of this project. So we have been working in interoperability scenarios for the cross issuance, for the cross verification, also checking which is the data model, the verification means, the DID methods that they are using and we are using. We have concluded this phase 1. Yes, now we are just collecting the result of the phase 1 and planning the phase 2 of the project.
That's exciting. And what can we expect in phase 2 of this project with Canada?
Yes, so what we are expecting is the real interoperability exercises between issuers, verifiers, and wallet providers.
And I'm also very interested to maybe hear a little bit more about the cooperation with the Homeland Security Department in the US. What would that project look like? And where does Europe's or your expertise from the European Commission come, and where's the collaboration between you?
Yeah, let me just jump in to say that whereas in Canada it's very, very practical, right? I think with the US we focus more on the standards because we have a common interest in W3C verifiable credentials, right? And also the W3C DID core on decentralized identifiers, right? So this is how the discussion started because these are, let's say, worldwide standards that are interesting for both Europe and the US. And then we started the discussion from there.
That's it, yes. So we are mainly working in this informal cooperation with representatives that are supporting W3CBC there and here. For example, we can give an example that there was misunderstandings 1 year ago about this, if this data model is close to only to use cases that they are requiring a very demanding semantics, or they can support any plain JSON. So we made a common communication just to promote the use of these standards.
Yeah.
And this is together with the Homeland Security Department.
Yes, yes. Sometimes people don't understand or purposely try to undermine, standards, which is absolutely the standard. I mean, like as we say, standards are great because there are so many to choose from, right? And it's important to always go back, I would say, to the basics and try to look at the standards, say, okay, it's being used here, it's being used there. It can be used this way, can be used that way, and as we are both interested that this works, right? It only makes sense that we informally cooperate. So it's not like, a formal cooperation across the Atlantic, but it's definitely users that get together to share experiences and then also to share these experiences with the wider community online. And Manuel John is always very active, so we are happy to, let's say, support him in doing so.
Brilliant. That's a lot of things to keep an eye out on for when it comes to EBSI. Maybe as a last question, what's the for people listening in, what's the next thing they should look out for when it comes to this project and the blockchain infrastructure?
Well, many things. We are always posting online. We posted today about EBSI ELSA, so about the verification of products or information about products, not the products themselves, but the information about products. But we aim at organizing an event with the so-called early adopters, but also with all these other projects that either financed by the Commission or not in May. So that's an invitation. We will soon be promoting this event. We will call it EBSI Ecosystem Day, where we will bring everyone that has been working with us, because also the wallets that we are discussing are not wallets that are built by us, the Commission. Actually, they come from a set of different projects, and we just do conformance testing of those wallets. So we have wallet providers, we have the projects themselves, we have, as we explained, the node operators, bring them all together to celebrate the fact that we have a very strong and, I would say, enthusiastic ecosystem. And I want to thank everyone that has contributed over the years.
Yes, and just to add that one of the next steps that we are going to start this week is to populate the production network. As the EDIC is not still ready, we are going to call it the production grade network. And we have close to between 10 and 15 node operators that are joined in a first wave, and we are waiting for a second wave to complete a more resilient and robust network.
Right, so there's a lot of things still coming up, and I'm also looking forward to see when this EDIC or European Digital Infrastructure Consortium will be formally established. So great, I'll be following along, and I'll definitely be asking you more questions in the future as all these things start to take shape. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experience doing this work on EBSI. And yeah, I think I've definitely learned a lot from this conversation. I hope others did as well.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a lot, a pleasure.
All right, and thank you so much to ValidVent for organizing Tech Talks. And until the next time, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.